Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and this sports show is sponsored by, well, you guessed it, Champions Adjust, which is a sports performance brand that is driven by the Champions Adjust Mindset program. We also have merchandise for the everyday athlete. We also release a podcast episode every single day, including this sports show once a week. But Champions Adjust is a mindset, and that's what it's driven by. But let's jump into what's happening this week in sports. And so for the second time ever, we will start with the NBA, right? The dust continues to settle after the shocking trade that sent Luka Dončić to the Los Angeles Lakers. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis and Max Christie continue to settle into their new surroundings and new roles with the Mavericks, with some interesting developments coming from there, right? The Slovenian basketball star Luka won his first scoring title last season before leading the Mavs to the NBA Finals and really just becoming someone everyone in Dallas freaking loved. We love this guy. We thought a statue was going to go up right next to Dirk. I mean, boom, and then he gets traded, right? Dončić is a five-time All-Star, five-time first-team All-NBA. Speaking to my boy Joel last week, who I mentioned, who feels like the same way that all Mavs fans do, which is like totally betrayed, right? Mavs fans who I've talked to, including Joel and some other of my friends, are going through like the 5 stages of grief, and they keep coming back to the emotion of anger. So Mavs fans feel betrayed. I mean, the fallout from the Dallas Mavericks trade of Luka to the Los Angeles Lakers just won't hover or linger around this franchise. It will stick to the Mavericks like a bad scent, and what they do, and more importantly, what they don't do, will be seen through a prism. The Mavericks traded a 25-year-old, 5-time All-NBA guard who's one of the top 5 players in the world and hasn't even entered his prime seasons. And think about that. They made 3 questionable choices. They decided they can't win with Dončić, which is probably wrong. They didn't want to give him a 5-year, $345 million extension. You give him whatever he wants. And they returned an insufficient amount of assets for Dončić. I mean, the fallout again from this trade will last for at least the next decade. It's going to stick with the Mavs in every win, loss, and decision. It will stink even worse when Dončić wins championships and MVPs with the Lakers before Dallas wins a title. Those who know Dončić and have seen him play since his teen years in Slovenia believe he will dedicate himself to making the Mavs look foolish. Yes, he will. The dude loves playing basketball. That's all he wants to do. He wanted to stay in Dallas, and now his sole goal, again, outside of maybe MVPs or championships or whatever it is to make the Mavs look foolish. But then we saw Anthony Davis debut with the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday afternoon, and it got off to a brilliant start. The team scored a 116-105 win over the Houston Rockets, but was dampened by his lower body injury, which forced him to the locker room for good early in the third quarter. This was Davis's first game back after missing the previous 5 with an abdominal strain. So this is not looking good for the Mavs. They trade the superstar. Anthony Davis is on the shelf in his first game with the Mavericks. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, he'll be healthy and start producing these big-time numbers because he is unbelievable, right? This blockbuster deal, which, again, will be debated for years to come, has put Davis in a strange spot. He is a 10-time All-Star and one of the best big men in the league, but will always represent the franchise player and fan favorite that the Mavericks lost. So even, again, maybe they win a championship with Anthony Davis, the Mavs fans will still feel betrayed because Anthony Davis is the reason they lost Luka Dončić. And that's not Anthony Davis's fault, but with the fans' anger is directed at the front office, Davis will still feel as though he has to prove himself in Dallas because of these facts. So it's a hard climb for Anthony Davis, but again, hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he makes the Mavericks better. And I don't know where, like my boy Joel and all Mavs fans will feel when they move through the 5 stages of grief, but hopefully the sting goes away here soon. And so more NBA news. I haven't covered NBA news in like the first 9 episodes of the show, but now episode 10 and 11, we had some trade deadline stuff. Might as well cover some more NBA while we're at it. It took months of team tension, rescinding trade offers and trade stances and several suspensions, but the Miami Heat have officially started their post-Jimmy Butler era. We saw this Wednesday night a few days ago. We saw the team finalize and officialize a deal to send Butler to the Golden State Warriors, who will send Andrew Wiggins to South Beach, where he'll play alongside newly minted all-star guard Tyler Hero, five-time all-defensive selection Ben Adebayo, and a host of Heat talent who are just eager and to expand their respective roles and ready to get going. I think that I don't really know, but I think that's a cool trade. Jimmy Butler obviously makes the Warriors way better and makes the Warriors in title contention immediately. I mean, the Warriors are a pretty amazing dynasty in the NBA, so they're always really in the title picture, especially when you have some guy like Steph Curry, who's one of the best basketball players of all time. Now they get Jimmy Butler, who carried the Heat to a bunch of NBA finals, a couple in the last couple years, is an amazing player, and that duo could easily ride them into the NBA finals. And so that's cool. That's cool for Jimmy Butler, cool for the Golden State Warriors, but really, I don't know much there, so that's enough NBA talk. My God, too much stuff. I'll get all my information from Joel, and then I'll pass it along on this show every week. But let's move on to the NFL awards, and then we'll talk Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl happened yesterday. We'll talk the NFL awards, and then I'll give you my reaction to the Super Bowl. But we had the Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen take home his first MVP award, and Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end Eric Armstead was named the Walter Payton Man of the Year at this year's NFL Honors, which happened on Thursday before the Super Bowl. And then you had the Pro Football Hall of Fame class got announced of 2025. That's Jaron Allen, that's Sterling Sharp, that's Eric Allen, and that's Antonio Gates. Congratulations to those fellas for earning their way into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame in any sort of sport is very illustrious and very important. And it's about giving people their flowers, which I talk about a lot. And so congratulations to those four guys. Brilliant careers, amazing job. Speaking of brilliant careers and brilliant season, Allen, who's the MVP of the league, was just announced, had a tremendous season, right? Throwing 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, while adding 531 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground. He narrowly beat Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who had an absolutely fucking stellar year. And now we see the Philadelphia Eagles. He beat out him, the Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley for that award. I'm sure Saquon Barkley doesn't even give a shit at this point, because now that guy is a freaking Super Bowl champion, and that's what he wanted to play. He wanted to play in meaningful games, and Saquon Barkley showed up when it mattered most, and he won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs played horrible. The only thing they might have done is like stop the run pretty well. So Saquon Barkley didn't have some of his breakaway, 70-yard game-changing fucking plays, but he had an incredible season and carried the Eagles when Hurts was a little off. But then Jalen Hurts comes in, crushes it, plays great. Now some are considering him to be an elite quarterback in the league. I don't know about that debate, but I love Jalen Hurts and the way he has toughness and his resiliency. And so, again, Allen beats out Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley for that award. I had Joe Burrow as my MVP of the league because I think without Joe Burrow, the Bengals go, 0-17. So, and he had some outrageous numbers, passing yards, touchdowns, all these sorts of things. Joe Burrow was my MVP pick, but I really like Josh Allen. I think he's amazing. And his speech and the way he thanks people and just his presence, I think is great for the league. Lamar Jackson had an incredible season. Saquon Barkley, probably one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a running back in the history of the NFL from start to finish, including the postseason. But Joe Burrow was my MVP. But again, congrats to Allen. And then we'll go over the rest of the awards. And the reason why I want to go over the rest of the awards when you can look at them anywhere really is that we have to acknowledge people when they do something great. We're too hesitant sometimes to give flowers when they're due. We like to give flowers when people die or when people retire or when people move on to a different career, but we don't give people their flowers in the moment because we're always moving on to something else or this or this or that. Like, these people had incredible seasons. They did great work and they deserve our recognition and they deserve their flowers. Just like you, if you're looking at your own life, okay, what did I do great today? What's one thing I did well today? What can I pat myself on the back for today? What can I say? Hey, nice job. That's like me. That's important. So giving yourself flowers and giving others flowers goes both ways. It's like, how can we think about uplifting ourselves, giving ourselves positive reinforcement for the things that we know we should be doing and are making ourselves feel good. And then over the long term, what does that lead to? It leads to more fulfillment, more joy, more success, whatever the case may be. So that's what giving flowers is really about. Like my boy who's a professional wrestler, Richard Holiday, says all the time, give me my flowers. So we have Coach of the Year, Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. We have Comeback Player of the Year, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, who is funny in his speech. He's like, you don't really want to be nominated for this award more than once, but I keep coming back from these crazy hard injuries. Hopefully Joe Burrow can stay healthy and we can see him just put together another masterful season where the Bengals actually play well in September and we can see them in the playoffs, and maybe Joe Burrow gets back to another Super Bowl. We have the Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley, crushed it. Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain the second. Offensive Rookie of the Year, obviously, Jaden Daniels, the best rookie quarterback season we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. The dude won 2 playoff games. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, and Assistant Coach of the Year, former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. And of course, Jim Brown Rushing Leader Award was the man who had a great season and a Super Bowl champ, now Saquon Barkley. So again, we see these awards, we want to move on to something else. We see awards in our own life, or we see accomplishments in our own life, and we're like, we got to move on to the next thing. We got to move on. Yes, life is a journey. We're always looking to the next thing, but let's be where our feet are right here, right now, and give ourselves flowers. I like to say that's like me, and give ourselves a pat on the back. That's like me for doing that thing. That's like me for waking up early and going to the gym. That's like me for having a great hard conversation. That's like me for voluntarily doing something hard. That's like me. And these people have to do the same thing. We see sports and we see athletes and we see their great qualities, their psychological qualities, their mental skills that they possess. We can possess those same things, and we start to do that by positively reinforcing the behaviors that we want to do, and we give ourselves flowers. So congrats to every person who won an award this year. Job well fucking done. That's like me, positively reinforce, and let's move on to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 2025, amazing. The Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22, and we see quarterback Jalen Hurts win the MVP. I mean, boy, was this a game for the Eagles. Like, everyone talked about the Chiefs and NFL being scripted and rigged and yada, 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 yada. The NFL is the new WWE, and the Chiefs didn't even come close to completing their three-peat. They got absolutely manhandled by the Eagles. Just sacked, just dominated, just absolutely stuffed in sort of every aspect of the game. So congratulations to the Eagles. More importantly, congratulations to my boy Wheeler Yuta, who's a professional wrestler for AEW. Congratulations to him. He's a massive, massive Philly sports fan. There's an episode with him coming out on my podcast called Something for Everybody in a couple weeks. And we talked about this exact game and gave our predictions. So you can look forward to that episode to see who I actually predicted and how much shit I got wrong. But the Chiefs don't complete the three-peat. The Eagles win the Super Bowl. They lost 2 years ago. They come back with a vengeance and absolutely dominate the Chiefs on every aspect of the game. That's how you beat the Chiefs in a big game. You can't have any sort of loose ends. You just dominate on every aspect of the ball, and you just stuff them and you manhandle them. And that's exactly what happened. So with that, with the Chiefs losing, Roman Reigns is officially the only athlete to three-peat in the 2020s. WrestleMania 37, WrestleMania 38, and WrestleMania 39. He won. We saw him lose to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. And so I only say that because everyone is so keen, to compare NFL to the WWE. I thought I would share that stat that Roman Reigns, the man, is the only athlete to officially three-peat in the 2020s. They talked about it on the Super Bowl pregame show, but Derek Jeter and the New York Yankees had a three-peat, but that wasn't in the 2020s. And so it's really hard, obviously. It's really hard to win one Super Bowl or championship. It's really hard to win 2 Super Bowl or championship or World Series or WrestleMania main event or whatever it is. 3, holy cow. And so the Chiefs obviously still deserve a ton of credit for doing what they're going to do. And Mahomes played his worst game in Super Bowl history, and they're going to come back better. They're going to come back better because that's what great teams do. They regroup, they learn from those lessons and mistakes, and they come back. But the Eagles are still just as good, and they're going to have all the same people, the same great defense, the same great coaches. We're going to keep putting this team together. I mean, this is their second Super Bowl in 3 years. So obviously they're leaning towards what a dynasty might look like, and that conversation is going to happen. But to me, the most important thing, and most importantly, I want to credit Jalen Hurts. Like, this is a tremendous lesson for kids out there, right? Benched at the halftime of the national title game for Tua. 4 more quarterbacks were drafted ahead of him. He lost in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but he refused. He refused to publicly pout, committed himself to working his ass off to get better, and now he's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. That's phenomenal resilience. Kids, take notes. That's a true professional right there showing you exactly what it takes to succeed and have resilience and mental toughness, right? People mistake resilience for this like one-time thing. It's almost always an ever-present factor on the path to greatness. Yes, of course, it's about getting back up, but it's also about coming to respect what you do, coming to respect the people you do it with, and coming to respect yourself. Remember, it takes years to develop a craft. There's no such thing as an overnight breakthrough. You've got to be patient, but also committed to that journey, committed to that process, like Jalen Hurts. You got to stay in the game long enough to break through the inevitable plateaus. There will be periods when you love your work. There will be periods when you hate your work. It's all par for the course. You have to adopt a growth mindset, find great mentors, resist the comparison game, and hone your process. And you have to commit to showing up every single day. So kids out there who want to be great, look to Jalen Hurts as the cornerstone, as the example of resilience, and know if he can do it, so can you. In whatever domain you live in, it doesn't have to be sports, but know that you can. It's committing to that process. It's committing to learning and training that skill of resilience, because you got this, and just keep going. Press ahead, press ahead, press ahead. And so I wanted to credit that. That's the most important thing that I got from the Super Bowl. I'm not going to break down the game, the X's and O's. Other shows with football experts will be doing that. This show, Champions Adjust, that word, those two words, Champions Adjust, is a mindset. So this show is centered around that and the mindset it takes to be great, while also sharing, obviously, quality sports news. But that's the most important thing from the game, and what kids can learn about resilience and how we just keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up and never back down. You get benched in the game, let's go. How can I work my ass off to get back in it? 4 more people were better than me, so quote unquote, or drafted higher than me. Cool, how can I get back up? Lost 2 years ago to the biggest game of the year. Cool, how can I get back up and get back up and get back up? That's resilience. That's the cornerstone of mental toughness, and that's the cornerstone of being a great performer or elite performer in any domain in the world. As Dr. Michael Gervais would say, that's the game inside the game, and why some succeed and others don't. And so last topic, of course, like always on this show, is MLB news. MLB news, we have left-handed reliever Tim Hill and the New York Yankees are in agreement on a 1-year, $2.85 million contract that includes a club option for 2026. Hill is 34 years old, had a 2.05 ERA in 44 innings with New York last year, and there's options for $3 million with a $350K buyout. The Yankees are a better team heading into 2025, and you may say, that's crazy. They gave away Juan Soto, right? But they're a better team heading into the 2025 season. And I think with the mistakes they made in that World Series with the Dodgers, they're coming back with a vengeance. They made controllable mistakes. That's a huge part of thinking about baseball, is the controllable versus the uncontrollable. There's so many things that you can't control in sports, and specifically in baseball: umpires, weather, other team, this, that, blah, 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 blah. But you can control your attitude, your effort, and your response. And that wasn't very good for the Yankees when they sort of fell apart. Now their team is better. They can create more chemistry. They can change the standard of what they have, the Yankee standard. They can get back to that World Series. And they're a better team than they were last year. And I think I would love to see, and I predict that we'll see a Yankees versus Rangers American League Championship Series. I think either of those teams are going to face the Dodgers. We might have a Yankees versus Dodgers rematch, but I would love to see a Rangers versus Dodgers World Series. That would be awesome. And so that's my prediction heading into spring training and heading into the 2025 MLB season. The Chicago Cubs, who keep getting better, acquired a right-handed reliever, Ryan Brazier, in a trade with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Brazier's 35, will get leverage innings for Chicago. And then we have outfielder Ben Gamel, and the Houston Astros are in agreement on a 1-year, $1.2 million contract. Gamel's deal is a major league contract that includes a $200,000 signing bonus, and the remaining $1 million is non-guaranteed. We're still waiting on Alex Bregman. What's going to happen? He wants a 7 to 8 year contract, which has sort of eliminated some teams like the Red Sox. There's been things that he might go back to the Astros. There's been some other places, maybe the Yankees, he'll get him, but he's looking for a long contract. He wants to stay on this team that he signs with for the rest of his career. He thought it was going to be Houston, and still might be, But that's what's taking so long. I mean, we're in this week we start spring training, thank God. And so we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with Bregman, because any team he goes on, he makes them immediately better. And he has a ton of playoff and World Series experience. And so he brings that sort of standard inside of a culture as well, which can elevate a Detroit team, right? Or a Blue Jays team who can't really get over the hump recently, but still have good teams. And so that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out with Bregman now that we're in spring training territory and football season is officially over. Then we have slugger Pete Alonso and the New York Mets are in agreement on a free agent contract. The deal is for 2 years and includes an opt-out after the first season. He'll make $30 million this year in total. Pete Alonso will guarantee that his deal is worth $54 million over 2 years. And so, like I said, the most important news of the day is that pitchers and catchers report to spring training this week. Baseball is back. Baseball season is here. Pitchers and catchers report to spring training. This is amazing. Praise God. Hallelujah. And we're going to end on that high note, because that's all I have for you this week on the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and you can head over to champsadjust.com for all things Champions Adjust. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Lots of love, and we'll see you next time.